meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee to order. We have 3 items on our agenda today. So without objection, we'll adopt the agenda. And our first order of business is approval of the minutes from May 20th. They looked fine to me. I did not see any need for any additions or corrections. Sorry, I lost my, there we go. Commissioner Ariola, are you fine with the minutes?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we will approve the minutes from that meeting. And so our next item, our biggest item today is the City of Gainesville fiscal year 19 comprehensive annual financial report, audited financial statements, auditors reports, auditors management letters, and single audit reports. Attached is the CAFR in backup. So with that, I will recognize our auditor, Ginger Bigby. And I also want to welcome Barbara Boyd, who's with us today to walk us through this from Purvis and Gray. Ms. Bigby, welcome.
Mayor, Commissioner, do we have the new Finance Director, Cynthia Ramos, in our logged in?
I am here. Hello.
Oh, hi. Great. So would you like to introduce Purvis Gray or say a few words? And I'll turn it over to Cynthia Ramos.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Cynthia Ramos. Nice to meet you all virtually. So I'd like to introduce the city's external auditor, Purvis Gray, who is represented by Barbara Boyd, and she's on the call. So I just want to say thank you to her and her team and to our staff for getting this CAFR completed before the state deadline. And before I say any more about the things that we're going to do to make that process go smoother, I'll turn it over to her so she can talk about her findings, and then I can say a couple of comments afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Welcome, Ms. Boyd.
Thank you. So Barbara Boyd with Purvis Gray and Company. I'm the partner in charge of the audit engagement, and I'll be just briefly presenting the results of the city's audit of the September 30th, 2019 financial statements. So with that, I'm going to state, I don't know who's got the book and who's got electronic PDF of the financials. So when I refer to page numbers, I'll be stating both. But I'll have you flip to page 1 or PDF page 18. And this is our independent auditor's report. So we're going to start with the most important report in the book. And this is the report on the financial statements of the city. We did not audit the financial statements of the utility, even though they are included in the CAFR. So they are included in the book, but those are audited by other auditors. So at the top of the second page, you'll see a section titled Opinions. And what this section tells you is that we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. So that is the highest level of assurance that we as auditors can provide. It tells you that based on our audit and the work that we performed, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. So an unmodified opinion is good. It's a clean opinion. Following that paragraph is a section titled Emphasis of Matter, Restatements. So the purpose of this paragraph in the report is to tell you that there were some changes to the beginning of year equity in the financial statements as a result of several things. One was changes to the reporting entity. There were some changes in the discretely presented component units that were previously reported. There were changes in the application of an accounting principle for the utility. And there were also corrections of errors in the general government financial statements from prior years. So more detailed information on those restatements can be found in note 19 to the financial statements. Okay. Moving on to the remainder of the reports, those are towards the back of the book. So starting on page 233 or PDF page 276, on that page is an independent accountant's report on compliance with section 218-415 Florida statute. That is the local government investment policies. And what this report tells you is that based on our testing, in our opinion, the city complied with the requirements of that statute, with the investment statute. Following that report on page 234 or PDF page 277 is our report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. So as part of any audit, we gain an understanding of the internal control process to determine where we're going to focus our audit. So areas with weaker internal controls, we perform more testing. Areas with strong internal controls, we perform less testing. So if during that process, we identified any internal control deficiencies that in our judgment are material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, government auditing standards require us to report those to you. So there are 2 items reported here, but they're actually a little bit further back. They're on PDF page 286 and 287, or if you've got the book in front of you, those are pages 243 and 244. And the first item, 2018-01, is regarding bank reconciliations. So bank reconciliations are a key component of internal controls over multiple financial reporting processes. It's one of the means of detecting potential errors or irregularities. So during the year, we found during the audit that the bank reconciliations were not completed on a timely basis, and they included unreconciled differences. So our recommendation is that the city implement procedures to ensure that all bank accounts are reconciled accurately and timely. And what we consider to be timely is within the following month after the month end. The second item, 2018-01, is regarding the financial close and reporting process. So during our audit, we identified several account balances that were materially misstated. We as auditors can assist management with certain adjustments if we're engaged to do so, but the city has to have sufficient controls in place to be able to identify which areas we should or we can assist with. If we come in and identify errors, then at that point we're part of the internal control process, and that's not allowed. So adjustments occurred for various reasons. Sometimes lack of reconciliations to the subsidiary records, errors from many years past that required research. I think in general, there was just the lack of staff available to perform these duties, particularly with the implementation of the new ERP system this year. So our recommendation is that management review the sufficiency of the finance staffing. I know there's a little more work to do on Workday on the new ERP system. So just making sure that there's sufficient staffing available to devote time to the audit. And more importantly, that the financial close and reporting process be documented with timelines for the various steps in the process. And this is just as important during the year as it is at year end for audit preparation purposes as you're getting these monthly or quarterly reports. On page 240, PDF page 283, is our report on compliance with each major federal program and state projects and on internal controls over compliance. So the first section I talked about was on the financial statements. This report is on your grants, basically your federal and state grants. So anytime you have over $750,000 of federal or state grants, you're required to have a single audit, which means that we select certain programs that we call major programs to test with the specific compliance requirements with those programs. We review internal controls over compliance. And similar to when we review internal controls over financial reporting, we would report to you any internal control deficiencies that we consider to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. So that are specifically related to those programs we tested. I am pleased to say there was no material non-compliance and no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report regarding or related to federal or state single audit. And then the last letter that's included in the bound report in the book is on page 245, and that is the management letter that's required by the rules of the Auditor General. In that letter, we would report certain items that are either recommended best practices that might help improve financial management, or other recommendations that didn't rise to the level of a significant deficiency or a material weakness to be included somewhere else in the report. We did have one recommendation related to the segregation of incompatible duties over payroll and journal entries, but these are really system issues. It's that your system doesn't have the capability of stopping one person from being able to, in payroll, change the time, change their own time, or for journal entries, go ahead and create and post the journal entry. So that will be resolved once you move over to Workday or change your ERP system. So that's it for the book report. There is one more report called a required communications letter. It's a separate letter. Communication with those charged with governance. And in this report, there are several items that we as auditors are required to report to those charged with governance. And it's mainly if there are significant accounting estimates or significant note disclosures that we want to point out to you. So in the first section there, qualitative aspects of accounting practices, there is a note that there was a change in a new accounting standard this year. GASB 88 was implemented. So that will reflect in the notes to the financial statements. There are several accounting estimates that are significant in your financial statements. We're only including here the non-utility fund accounting estimates, but the allowance for doubtful accounts and bad debt expense, your net pension and OPEB liability, accumulated depreciation and depreciation expense, and the fair market value of financial and derivative instruments, and then also your incurred but not reported self-insurance claims are all estimates in the financials. Financial statement disclosures. You can see there are 3 disclosures that we consider to be significant in your financial statements. The commitments and contingencies is more fully described in note 14 to the financials. The consolidated plan actuarial valuations have not been accepted by the state for several years. So the state is withholding the insurance premium tax distributions. The restatements in note 19 that we discussed, as well as the subsequent events. There are several subsequent events reported there. The termination of CRAs is a significant one. There was the issuance of new debt, and also the COVID-19 pandemic, which we don't know the full effects of yet, but could have a significant impact on your financial statements. We also are required to report to you any corrected and uncorrected misstatements. So you will see following the report are a few pages of the statements that we, or the adjustments that we propose to management. So that concludes my report. Any questions?
Mr. Ariola?
No questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And from my seat, I would like to accept the recommendations of the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Boyd, for your partnership and work on this audit. You know, I know that there were some bumps in the road, and it was, you know, we last year found ourselves in a similar position, and you know, I think it's a top priority for our new finance director to iron out some of these problems that we have, and make sure that we're in a much better position to go through this process for this year. So thanks for helping us with that. I think it will be, you know, we'll be in a much better place, you know, after these changes get implemented and the recommendations we hear loud and clear. They are very concerning, but they are also fixable. So, you know, I think it's important that we you know, address those. And in fact, I know they're already being addressed, but I think what we should do is turn back to Ms. Ramos and ask for her assessment and opinion, and maybe a little guidance on how we are going to address some of the findings in the audit. And then I'll go back to the auditor, Ms. Bigby, for any other statements she wants to make. And then we'll turn it over to the public.
Sounds good. So we are going to be looking at the internal procedures for the department, as well as putting together a deliverable timeline for ensuring that our month-end process is configured correctly and that we are following a reconciliation process on a timely basis so that we don't have some of these findings reoccur again. And it's going to take a little bit of work on our end, but we are planning on evaluating where we are today, what we can do going forward so that there's easy wins that will make the year-end close process easier down the road. And some of that means, closing our general ledger on a monthly basis, reconciling our accounts more frequently, and then approaching the year-end process in a much more lockstep manner that will allow us to do the reporting much more efficiently on our end.
Great, thank you, Ms. Ramos. And as we all know, that year-end is actually coming up real quick. It's I know it's still July, but it'll be October 1st before we know it. And so, in talking with Ms. Boyd, I think the hope is that we have everything largely prepared in November. They can do their audit, and then it will be completed and ready to send out by March. And so, is that the timeline that you are thinking is reasonable?
Yes, that's the timeline that we are shooting for.
Okay, very good. That would make a lot of people sleep easier and get up a little more energized, I think. Ms. Bigby, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. Yes, I think one way we can help Ms. Ramos be successful is to engage in a collaborative project with finance management. So Ms. Ramos and I are kicking off a project tomorrow over the general government financial reporting processes. And we'll do everything we can to ensure that process improvements are implemented and up and running. And we'll keep you posted on the progress because there are some heavy lifts and, we're not going to do everything overnight. So I think it will be important to keep you posted on what we can and cannot do right now. And I'm very comfortable that Ms. Ramos will be able to achieve her goals for this coming year end. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bigby. And Mr. Murray, I saw that you unmuted. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I just want to say that we're going to continue to work with our auditors and also with our finance department to make these improvements. And Ms. Bigby and I and the city manager's office have agreed to sort of meet on a monthly basis to keep everybody in the loop of what's going on. So I just want to say that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murray, and thank you all, Ms. Ramos, Ms. Bigby, Ms. Boyd. So I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume too much. So let's just go ahead and ask for an update at our next Audit and Finance Committee meeting, just a status update as to how these improvements are and how the implementation is going, as well as if we could just get an update on the ERP migration and how that's going as well. So I guess, Ms. Bryant, you're clerking for us maybe today. I see you there anyway. If we could make sure that an item is added to our next Audit and Finance agenda, that will just simply be an update on the audit findings as well as the ERP implementation.
And I would like to add, Mayor, that our next quarterly city auditor update will be presented in September. So that will have the audit issue follow-up, any audit reports that are due, and then all of the continuous monitoring that we're doing will be a status update on all of those, which includes ERP and will include the financial reporting process. So all of that will be within the city auditor update for September 23rd.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Bigby. Okay, so we will forward this to the City Commission with a recommendation that they accept the report. And so I don't see Larry with us, but
Mayor Poe, it's Marie. Larry is not with us today, but if there are any callers that would like to make a public comment, they're welcome to dial *9 at this time from their phones and we can recognize them. So I do see one raised hand for public comment. So our guest with the number ending in 3706, you should be unmuted if you would like to share your comment.
Thanks, and well, thanks for joining us. You'll have 3 minutes to share your thoughts with us.
Hi, Mr. Poe, Brian O'Brien calling in, and I would like to ask you if I could comment on the minutes. I was on the line and I did not get an opportunity to
Please
comment
do.
on the minutes when you started the meeting.
Please do.
Mr. Poe, as I have before, I object to the minutes of the prior Audit and Finance meeting that are being submitted today. They are not complete and do not include the text of citizen comments, including ones submitted live during the meeting and by e-comment. Neither minutes nor video registered the gravamen of citizen comments. Aren't the citizens supposed to be heard in these?
Mr. O'Brien, do you conclude? I can't hear you.
I conclude on the minutes section, sir.
Okay. You got 2 minutes left if you'd like to share any other thoughts with us.
No, sir, I'd like 3 minutes on the CAFR item, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you reset the clock, sir?
I did.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Poe. Ms. Boyd, appreciate your always detailed and concise report. I'm very disappointed to hear that even though we were promised that the problems that were encountered last year were being straightened out as early as June 20th, the day that Mr. Poe pushed it through on the consent agenda. Very concerned that we were told that this year's report would be on time, and I'm under the impression it may be late again to the state of Florida. My comments today and questions on this item exceed the scope of what this meeting format allows with such short time allotted to citizens. Thus, I will keep it brief today and hope that we can work together to bring the item to the citizens on the CCOM regular agenda. Question number 1. Mr. Poe, by what authority was the annual financial report transmitted to the CFO of the Department of Financial Services? Question number 2. What authority is necessary to submit the CAFR, Florida Auditor General Cheryl Norman, CPA? Number 3, like the 2018 CAFR, is this critical financial report not filed timely as required by the state of Florida? Question 4, these 2019 financial statements deserve close attention since the city is sliding towards insolvency. Will Mr. put discussion of this item at CCOM on the regular agenda? Number 5, has the city of Gainesville met all conditions and requirements of all state and federal grants in fiscal year 2019, including grants closed in 2019? Number 6, last year, Mr. Poe assured citizens that any issues in the 2018 CAFR noted by Ms. Boyd had been resolved. Ms. Boyd again reports controls lacking in several important areas. Could Ms. Boyd please explain the problems encountered in the 2019 financial audit, causing it to be late and deficiencies still existing from a year ago? Second to last question, number 7, please explain what role, if any, Purvis Gray had in preparing or assisting in financial statement preparation 2019 financial statement. And the last question, number 8, has Purvis Gray performed any work on the city's behalf in conjunction with ongoing Florida State Auditor General's audit of the city of Gainesville? Thank you, Mr. Poe.
Mayor Poe, it's been
Mr.
3
O'Brien.
minutes.
Ms. Kessler, do we have any other callers?
I don't believe we have any waiting right now.
Okay, thank you. So I assume someone was keeping track of those questions. I can answer a couple of them, and then I'll turn over to the auditor, and a few of them were for Ms. Boyd specifically. First of all, the report was submitted on time. And so any concern that it was submitted late should be alleviated. For minutes, our minutes are not transcripts. They follow a standard format. And we've discussed that before, and the attorney has discussed the requirements for that as well. So they're not verbatim transcripts. The people can go to recordings of the meetings if they want a verbatim transcript. So I think, Ms. Bigby, if you wanted to address any of the questions about, I know that I explained this to Mr. O'Brien in an email, but the requirement, it's not under my authority. There's a statutory requirement to submit the CAFR, which is what requires us to do so. I think, so there was a group of questions in that area, and then we can ask Ms. Boyd to answer any of the questions. I believe she addressed that there were no findings with any of our state or federal grants, and she can answer whether she's participating in the general Auditor General's audit if she would like. Ms. Bigby?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner. The Purvis Gray did participate in compiling some financial information with finance because finance was having trouble getting things done, I think, by the time that Purvis Gray needed the information. So they did engage for an extra amount for that work, and Ms. Boyd can give you some more detail on exactly what that entailed. And then also, if she could comment to the Auditor General, I'm not aware of the Auditor General engaging Purvis Gray in any of their work for their city audit, but if Ms. Boyd could speak to that as well. And then for the controls, I agree, you know, we are disappointed to have financial controls that are still outstanding from the prior year. The best we can do is get on it now. So we do have a project. We have a new finance director. Internal audit is now participating in the project. So we do expect to get those controls resolved and be able to file our financial statements next year in a more timely manner. But again, as the mayor said, they were not filed late. June 30th is the deadline, and Ms. Boyd was able to get them submitted on time. Ms. Boyd?
Sure. So you might have to remind me of what all the questions were, but for us, we did audit certain grants. We did not audit 100% of the grants. An audit does not entail. So the question I believe was, did all of the grants meet the requirements? The major programs that we tested did, so I can answer to that respect. We are not engaged by the city or by the Auditor General in assisting in any part of that audit. Is there any more I'm missing?
I think those were all the ones for you.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, Ms. Shalley, if you want to just, I felt like I covered it, but if you want to add anything else about the, Mr. O'Brien's statement is under what legal authority is it transmitted? But again, it's not so much about legal authority is required by state statute to submit it. Can you clarify that any differently than I did?
No, Mayor, I think you hit it right on that the city is required to transmit it, and so that's what the city does.
Yeah, and it doesn't go through that's independent of any commission action. I mean, it's just every year we are required to do the same thing.
Yes, again, I know the staff that handles this for the city is well aware of the requirements and make sure that those things are followed. So, yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Feldman?
I just received an email that Mr. Scott is trying to get into the queue to comment.
Okay.
So,
okay. Ms. Kessler, if you have Mr. Scott on the line, or Mr. Scott, if you'll press *9, that should get you through to the clerk.
Yes, and I can also, it should be up on the screen for anyone who is viewing the meeting, but for those who only have audio access, I can read the number. If you'd like to call and make a public comment, you can dial 1-312-626-6799, and then enter the meeting ID. That's 847-998-3920. But if you are already listening by phone, again, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. And I do see a number ending in 7455. You may go ahead with your comment.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, Nathan Scott. So I'll get to the problems with the meeting format in a second, but I wanted to call in support of the comments raised by Mr. O'Brien. Each of those comments are well-founded. The issues I have is this commission's ongoing lack of concern for addressing historical audit findings that have not yet been addressed. I do want to commend the current auditor for seemingly giving these the attention that they should have been given by the city commission and the mayor in years past. Again, I think it's very important for the city to get its fiscal house in order. The city, at least the city commission and the mayor, seem to want to devote the majority of their attention to every other topic in the world other than the operation of core government and ensuring that appropriate internal financial controls and project controls exist. I think that's well documented in terms of the audit findings dating all the way back to 2014 that are not yet resolved. I do think that the city needs to appropriately prepare for the state audit. I think there's numerous issues that should be a concern to the state, notwithstanding the representations by the city auditor, Purvis Gray. And if you look closely at the auditor statement, there's many things that they're not able to offer opinion on due to there not being sufficient information. So again, I do want to echo Mr. O'Brien's concerns. I do also want to voice the concern that this meeting, unlike all the other meetings, is not being live streamed on Facebook. The format for this meeting has changed significantly. The dial-in number is cumbersome. I mean, I'm very adept at video conferencing and what have you, but you have a lengthy dial-in number, you have a lengthy passcode, and then you have a *9 option to raise your hand. I tried that initially. I got bypassed, although I was on hold. But my concern is this is impediment to public participation. The commission should know better based upon the prior concerns expressed by citizens. This meeting should be live streamed, and we should go back to Larry and the straightforward format, which is convenient and you can hear the meeting. But, this passcode, if you're going to have something that's got more digits than a telephone number, you guys should get woke and make it user-friendly by publishing that number in the telephone number dial-in with the semicolon, the passcode, and the pound sign, so you can support one-touch dialing on cellular, like every other person in the business world knows how to do. But again, it's very cumbersome to do, and the *9 option is equally cumbersome after that because it prompts you to enter a passcode, and it makes the way that it's published on the screen while you're watching this meeting makes it seem like you need to enter all that information sequentially, which I did, but I was not able to participate without sending an email. Well, thank you, but it's a valid concern. I think it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Governing and during a pandemic has its drawbacks for sure, and we're glad you're able to get through and share your comments with us. And again, this is being broadcast on Channel 12 and through the city's website as well, and the call-in information is there for anybody that wants to join us. Ms. Kessler, were there any other callers?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So the recommendation again is to forward this to the full city commission with a recommendation to accept the report. All right, Ms. Boyd, thank you so much. We have one other item on our agenda, and well, I'm pulling it up. Third quarter amendatory budget for general government. And so with this, I will turn it over to, I'm guessing Ms. House or Ms. Fiore?
That will be Karen Fiore. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Fiore, welcome.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Great. I'm not sure if there's really a need for me to share my screen, but if you would like to, I will. I'm only going to focus on the first 2 pages of the amendatory. Would you like me to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think more for folks watching that might not have it easily accessible, that'll make it a little easier for them.
Okay, absolutely. Are you able to view my screen?
Yep, we can.
Wonderful. So in the past, I kind of read through each of these budget transactions. These are the budget transactions that we're asking you to approve. It's a lot of the same repetition that I say per fund. So I'm not going to actually go line by line detail. I'm just going to kind of group a little bit of this together. But if you have additional questions, please chime in. So as always, during our amendatories, we have a lot of carry forward reconciliations. So you're going to see that repeated in multiple funds here. We also do a lot of transfers between funds for needs such as capital. It may be approved in one fund, but then we find that it's better to spend out perhaps in the general fund. So we transfer funds between each fund for those type of needs. If you go down to Fund 115, you can see that we closed out a lot of GPD grants that were closed, and we just want to get these off our books, so that's wonderful. In Fund 116, which is a transportation concurrency fund, we actually here recognized $545,000 for new agreements and allocated that budget. In our special revenue fund, as you see each quarter, we recognized some revenue and allocated it for the fire department on their specific programs that they receive revenue for. In our Wild Spaces Public Places Fund, we transferred $803,000 from fund balance for the Northeast 31st Avenue Park. And then in Fund 450, which is our RTS fund, here we allocated $175,000 in new grants. My computer's going a little bit slow here. And it doesn't want to move. And then the remainder of the funds, the only thing I'm going to touch on are the Gainesville Community Redevelopment Agency funds. There's multiple funds, as you know, that there were all the TIF funds that are still active. We're still spending those dollars down. And in fiscal year 20, we're paying off all the old debt. So there was a lot of movement between programs within each of those funds and some fund balance allocation to allow for these debt payments. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
No, Commissioner Ariola, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Mayor, and happy to accept the reports.
Okay, so we will place the amendment resolution on our next city commission agenda. There's a placeholder for it, I believe, and recommend to the commission that they accept the amendments.
Thank you.
Ms. Bigby, anything else you wanted to add?
Nothing further. Ms. Marzak, do you have anything that you'd like to add? You're on mute.
Yes, I was getting there. All right. No, I don't. Thank you.
Nothing more, Mayor.
By the time I found it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Fiore, for the report. Ms. Kessler, do you have any callers that would like to comment on the amendatory budget?
Yes,
reporter.
it looks like we have 2 callers waiting to share a comment. So first in the queue, I see caller with the number ending 7455. Go ahead if you'd like to share your comment.
Yes, good afternoon again, Mayor, Commissioners, Nathan Scott. This item is going to be considered at the City Commission meeting, so I think I'll reserve the majority of my comments regarding this item for that time. Again, I do want to reiterate my concern about the format in which this meeting's held. As you're aware, Mayor Poe, this meeting is not being live streamed on Facebook. The dial-in information has changed significantly from all your other recent meetings. The agenda for this meeting doesn't have any dial-in information on it. So again, if you're not paying attention and watching as a concerned citizen, you'd be oblivious to the meeting. So, I mean, you can sit there and undermine the valid concern that I previously addressed by saying we're doing the best we can, but that doesn't explain why this meeting is not being live streamed on Facebook, consistent with all the other recent City Commission and other meetings. So, I mean, I think the excuse just deflects rather than gets to the crux of the question. And in the virtual environment, I think the Facebook streaming works very well, irrespective of Granius, which often has problems. So I would request this commission, consistent with past practice, to live stream these meetings on Facebook and use Larry and the normal 800 number rather than this lengthy process to dial in to have the public to allow the public to have a meaningful opportunity to participate in city government in the midst of a pandemic. Thank you.
Next caller, please, Ms. Kessler.
I apologize, I was muted. Next caller, we have ending in number 3706.
All right, welcome.
Go ahead and share your comment.
Thank you, operator. I appreciate that. The questions I have for Ms. Fiore is, could you explain to us how the General Capital Projects Fund number 302 had $1,100,000? And I don't know, Mr. Poe, do you want me to give Ms. Fiore all these questions at one time?
Yeah. Let's get your questions, Ms. Fiore, if you'll take note, and then we'll answer them once your comments have concluded.
I'm going to go ahead and send you my list of questions because obviously nobody wrote them down and you really didn't get to the answers on the first batch. So, but I'll be glad to follow your protocol and give you all the questions. The Stormwater Management Capital Surcharge Fund, how is it that we zeroed the budget and returned to fund balance completed projects of $888,000? On the Deferred Compensation Trust Fund 609, please explain to me the reduced to zero per audit note as revenue should not be budgeted $20,750,000. That's a lot of money to have laying around that shouldn't be in that account. On the Downtown Redevelopment Trust Fund, transfer from Power District Development to Fund 620 to pay off debt, $521,000, which was not anticipated in this year's budget. The Fifth Avenue Pleasant Street transfer, that's number 613. It's page 34, note 6. Transfer funds from Heritage Trail to University House for development, $542,438. On the Community Reinvestment Area Fund, number 620, these restricted by the law governing the CRAs, which were disbanded without notice to the citizens. And it's my understanding from these first 4 notes that you intend to accelerate payment on the debt of those notes. Please explain to me how that works in context of Florida law for CRAs. Thank you, Ms. Fiore.
All right, thank you, Mr. O'Brien. So Ms. Fiore, can you go down, I guess you probably should pull up your screen again and hit those different that Mr. O'Brien mentioned.
Mr. Mayor.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So the first question was in our capital project fund 302. And the question was around the $1 million for Heartwood loan repayment. So we had did a budget transaction to show repayment for this loan in this fund, and that actual accounting adjustment was not correct. So we're just reversing this entry. So prior amendatories, you saw where we added this line, and this is simply just reducing it. That's not how this loan repayment should be recorded. So that's simply reversing that. The next question was stormwater, which is Fund 413. So the question was, it was 414 stormwater, I apologize. How can we zero out and return to fund balance? So when we have projects, we allocate based on the need and what commission has approved. So projects could be approved, for example, maybe at $500,000, and then we complete the project and we end up perhaps with $25,000 less that we allocated. So we don't want to keep that budget just sitting in that project because the project has been completed. So we simply just put that back into the fund, which basically goes into fund balance, so that the department can then say, hey, we now have this much money in fund balance. Here are some new projects. Hey, commissioners, can we go ahead with this new project? So we don't want to keep funding in projects that have been completed. So that's what that's for. And that's in the case for any fund. The next question was Fund 609. Just scroll down here. So during the FY19 audit, it was brought to our attention that we should not be budgeting revenue in the deferred compensation, as well as the qualified pension trust fund. Those should not be budgeted revenue amounts. So this entry was simply taking what we had previously budgeted and reducing that budget down to zero. It wasn't that we're sitting on this money, we're not budgeting any revenue in these funds. I don't know really how else to explain that. It's simply just not, in the future, we will not be budgeting revenue in these funds. So when you see the fiscal year 21 proposed budget, you will not see any revenue budgeted in these two funds. And perhaps the auditor wants to go into more detail on the reasoning why, but this was basically came directly from the auditors.
Okay, yeah, Ms. Big, jump in there.
I believe Ms. Fiore is referring to Purvis Gray. Would Ms. Boyd like to speak to that request?
She might have left us.
Okay, so we can come back. I can get with Ms. Boyd and we can come back with more detail. I don't have any detail at the moment, sorry.
Was that a change, and is that one of the Gatsby changes?
I think it is.
I mean, basically, they just changed your reporting requirement, and so we'll get confirmation. And if somebody, Ms. Bigby, if you can get back to Mr. O'Brien when we get a firm answer on that.
Okay.
In the Downtown Redevelopment Trust Fund, which is Fund 610, the question was, why did we transfer from the Power District to pay off debt? So again, we have budgets sitting in specific projects that may perhaps not, there was no need for that additional budget. So we transferred out of that project and we put it to the line item to pay off the debt. These are debt payments to the general fund. These are not loans with any banks. These are simply internal loans to the general fund. So there was no regulations around the paying off of these debts. And you'll see that throughout, like I mentioned earlier, the Gainesville CRA, their funds. So that also is the same answer for Fund 613. Again, we transferred from some existing budget projects that were no longer needed, and we reallocated to pay off some of these debts. And the same for the Gainesville Community Reinvestment Area Fund. This is your new fund for the new GCRA. What we did was we transferred funds from this fund to the other funds that had these existing debt to the general fund to pay off that debt. So that's what you're seeing here. So Mr. Mayor, I think I answered Mr. O'Brien's questions, and we'll have to get back on the reasoning behind the deferred compensation fund.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
This is Carla Bennison. I'm the accounting manager. I can address the compensation funds.
Great.
Those are funds that the city does not control. They should never have been reported on our books. And that's why we are no longer going to be budgeting for them. They are overlooked. They are not ever included in our CAFR, but really we just took that last step to remove it from the budget process. Those are funds that employees and employer are setting aside, but they're not money that the city can touch.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Carla.
Thanks.
I think we went down and addressed each of those questions. So thank you, Ms. Fiore and Ms. Benson for addressing those. All right, so we are going to recommend to the City Commission to adopt a resolution, which will appear on our next City Commission agenda. With that, we move on to general public comment. Or is there anybody that on the line to participate in general public comment?
Yes, Mayor Poe, there's one caller on the line, caller ending in 3706. You may go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fiore, for your always detailed presentation. I appreciate that. The cover letter that was on the CAFR that was presented states that the Finance Department did a wonderful job in putting this report together. And I hope that that's reflected in the next report. Mr. Feldman, do you expect that the next CAFR will have the same high quality finance report that Ms. Wilson's office delivered this year that you're glowing about in the cover letter?
Mr. Feldman, you expect a quality report to be issued?
I expect a quality report to be issued.
Okay, very good. Mr. Brown, do you conclude? Still there?
Oh, yes, Mr. Poe, I conclude. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Kessler, are there any other callers?
No, Mayor Poe.
Okay. Very good. Any member comment? David, anything?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'd like to say is just how thankful I am for the new members on our team. I'm a new member of this committee, and so very grateful for the work that they've put in. I'm looking forward to the City Commission seeing our recommendations, their recommendations in the reports, and really moving forward in this process. And I'm very glad to see that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate all the work that went into this. And seeing no further business before the committee, we are adjourned.